Today I want to tell you a story about a cousin of mine by the name Carol. It's quite a painful story, but with a lot of lessons to be learned. So, after 3 abortions and 2 painful miscarriages, my cousin Carol decided to end her life. Yeah, suicide. So, at that particular time, 2017, I remember, she just finished a degree program in business administration at Laikipia University. After the completion of her degree program, she had relocated to Nanyuki town in search of job opportunities. Carol was my cousin from my dad's side. So what's unfortunate is that Carol had a severe drinking problem. She had a very bad alcohol problem. Even at her days at the university, they were not quite happy days for her because she abused drugs. She was so much hooked to alcohol, and very many times she had problems with both the university authorities and of course the police. So it was not such a very colorful presence at the university for my cousin Carol. Obviously her relationships too were not quite the it, because the people she dated kept on accusing her of either emotional absence in the relationship or recklessness and all that kind of stuff. And definitely, as a lady, when you have a severe alcohol problem, your morals also become questionable. And that was the case with my dear cousin Carol. So many times she confessed to me that she had gone partying and she had slept with strangers. And of course, at one point or the other, she had fallen pregnant for people she didn't even know. At some point she even told me that she had discovered that she was pregnant, but she did not know who the father of her child was. So it was quite a reckless life for my very dear cousin Carol. So after her completion with her degree program back at Laikipia University, she had a very difficult time regaining herself and quitting drugs. And being somebody who would not do without alcohol, a bottle of beer in a day, she had quite a problem with her concentration at work. She had a problem with relating well with her family, her immediate family, and of course us, the extended family who are cousins. So it was quite a rough patch for her, even after the completion of university studies. So I remember very well, she tried relationships. She tried to love. Men who got into her life left as fast as they walked in. This is because they could not tolerate her alcohol problem. She was in so much psychological pain, and most of the time she began becoming a loner. We tried to help, of course, recommendation of rehabilitation and all that, but then our efforts to save her from herself did not bear fruits. So I remember roughly 1 year after she had left the university, she found a man who loved her for real. I remember very well, John was really, really in love with her when they first met. John was a practicing medical doctor in Nanyuki town. And for her, I think, to this date, I think it was love at first sight, because he fell head over heels in love with our cousin Carol. He didn't care about her drug addiction. He didn't care about her filthy past. He didn't care about her alcohol problem. All he wanted to do was to love Carol, help her through a very well-coordinated recovery journey, and, be there for her and hopefully raise a beautiful family with our cousin Carol. And true to his word, Dr. John gave Carol his all. I remember on her 27th birthday, she was gifted a brand new car by the doctor. He paid for her rehabilitation sessions in Nanyuki, and he brought out the very best of our cousin. And for us who are her relatives, we saw a very bright ray of hope in her life after a very, very struggled past. And therefore, I think after 7 months of them dating, Dr. John began entertaining the thoughts of, proposing to her, engaging her, and definitely settling in holy matrimony with our cousin Carol. But sadly, something happened in their relationship. And before I tell you what happened, this particular story, this particular video has been sponsored by the Manor Residents. This is a housing project courtesy of Wilston Homes. Right now they are having very nice mansionettes in Ruiru. You can, book an appointment with their sales executive, Madam Edna, whose number is right down on the screen. You can also see the houses are now on the screen. Very nice mansionettes, 3-bedroom, all en suite, going for as little as 12.5 million shillings. You can do a deposit of 3 million shillings, and of course, you can clear the rest of the balance in a period of 15 months. The Manor Residents have been meticulously built by these particular real estate people, and today they are our partners in this video. Have a look at the Manor Residents. So back to our story. When Dr. John began thinking of settling down in marriage with our cousin Carol, something happened, like I said. Our cousin Carol was not able to carry any pregnancy to term. She got pregnant, yes, but she was not able to carry any pregnancy to term. And really, this aspect affected them so much. They could not bear a kid. And therefore, many theories arose and revolved around her inability to carry pregnancy to term, because people thought that during her dark days at the university, sleeping with strangers, doing drugs, she had lost her fruit, the fruit of her womb. And because of the 3 abortions that she had committed between the period of 1st year to 4th year, and of course the 2 miscarriages that had happened to her on her 3rd year, she had completely lost her ability to become pregnant and successfully deliver. So my good people, our cousin Carol's inability to give Dr. John a kid really got into her, and she became very stressed, very, very stressed, because Dr. John had rescued her from herself. Dr. John had been there for her at a time when the light of her life almost dimmed. And truly, truly, for a man, for a family man, the very best way to bless them is by giving them a child. And definitely that was the desire of our cousin Carol. So when she learned that she was not able to give birth, her world came trembling. She got depressed. All the first-class medical examinations did not give a clear indicator as to why she was not able to carry any pregnancy to term. So she broke down psychosocially, and she became a loner. Every day she would lock herself in her bedroom, cry the whole day, question God, question life, and everything did not make sense to her. Then, to add insult to the injury, our cousin Carol slipped back into alcoholism. She slipped back into drugs. So every day when Dr. John would leave for work, she would call her peddlers, her drug plugs and all, and she would, sneak in weed and joints. She would smoke these things, get high, so that the pain of not being able to bear a child would escape her momentarily. So this became her habit. It got worse when she began sneaking alcohol bottles into the house. She would drink, smoke weed, and be high. She became very thin, very, very thin, and she became a very dark shadow of herself. Dr. John again did everything the good doctor could to save this lady a second time. He reminded her that being able to bear a child really was the business of God. It's Him who gives children. It's Him who gives life. Again, it's Him who takes life. All honor and glory goes back to Him. Carol would not hear any of that. To her, both Father Time and Mother Nature had colluded to make her life useless. And nothing would stop her from, sinking deeper into the shadows of frustration. So I remember very well on the 3rd month, Carol made a very drastic decision. She made a very sad decision, if you ask me. She decided to break up with Dr. John. She decided that time was up for her in that particular marriage, and she wanted out. This is because she thought that she was wasting Dr. John's time. She had slipped back into drugs and alcohol. She was unable to give him a kid, and she knew his desire to raise a family, and she was not able to offer all that to the good doctor. So she decided no, she was going to break up with him. She was going to relocate to Nairobi and just lead a single life. Because according to her, her worth as a woman to be in a relationship with a man had faded away. She had lost her self-worth and nothing made sense to her. And when she broke that news to Daktari, the guy felt so defeated. The guy felt so bad. He felt so sad. But the lady had made up her mind. Reflecting on what Dr. John had done for this lady, it was quite painful. He had rescued her the first time from all that she was undergoing. He had given her a home far away from home. He had reassured her that everything about life was going to brighten up for her, and she was going to lead a purposeful life with him. Her inability to give him a child should have not been the basis of her slipping back into her dark world. Our cousin Carol could not hear any of Dr. John's pleas not to leave him. She said she was done and she wished Dr. John well. She told John that John deserved better. John deserved a woman who would bring the color that he wanted in his life. What our good cousin Carol did not know is that Dr. John loved her for real. So fast forward, my good people, Carol packed everything that she considered her own and went to the city in the sun, Nairobi. She envisioned getting a regular job, never getting into a relationship or marriage, just, leading a single life, partying, enjoying life when she still could. Deep down, our cousin Carol still wanted to bear a child, even if the child would come from a man who she was not in a relationship with or marriage with. Deep down, she really fancied the idea of, bearing a child of her own. And because she had given up on matters relationships and matters marriage, Carol said she would do her best, work hard, get some money, and consider getting a sperm donor. She didn't want to marry, she didn't want to date, but she wanted her child. Maybe to fill that particular void in her own wisdom, that would bring her happiness. And therefore she went to Nairobi. Her partying life continued. She got a job that, was kind of paying well, and she just didn't care about the idea of settling down. Dr. John also moved on with his life. We don't know whether he remarried or whatever happened to his love life. We really do not know. But he remained in Nanyuki, practicing doctor, leading his own life. He moved on. He wished Carol well. So Carol worked hard here in Nairobi. She got a few friends. Of course, partying life continued. So Carol would really save money because she wanted to bear a child one last time through artificial insemination. So it was quite an expensive endeavor for her. It was quite expensive, I must say, because the figures that she told us about were crazy. But because she had a job and she didn't have a lot of financial obligations at the time, she was able to save a good chunk of her salary. And after what seemed to be like 7 months, she got the money that was needed for artificial insemination. And therefore, she approached one of the medical institutions here in Nairobi, that is famed for offering such services like, sperm donorship, surrogacy, parental surrogacy, and all that. And she got into a deal with them. They told her they were going to bid for a sperm donor, and then once they were ready with the qualifications of that particular gene that she had requested, they would contact her. She would be artificially inseminated, and if fate was on her side, she would be able to carry a pregnancy. She prayed, honestly. Though she was back into the, partying life and all that, she secretly prayed to God that after losing almost 5 pregnancies, this was her final attempt to motherhood. And she secretly had her own conversation with her God. So after a couple of weeks, the medical institution was able to get a donor for her, and she was called in. She was inseminated, and her journey of carrying pregnancy began. Everything was very smooth, from the donor identification all the way to insemination, and now the journey, the pregnancy term began. Of course, it wasn't without its own hitches because of the previous occurrences in her life, but God was with her side. On her side, I beg your pardon. Remember, this particular episode has been proudly sponsored by the Manor Residence, courtesy of Wilson Homes, a project that is being led by Edna, Madam Edna, whose number is playing on the screen. If you are looking for a family home here in Nairobi, 3-bedroom mansionettes are now on sale at the Manor Residence Ruiru. A 3-bedroom all-in-suite flat roof goes for as little as 12.5 million. You can pay a deposit of 3 million and of course finish the rest of the balance in a period of 15 months. Very many exclusive amenities are at the Manor Residence, as you can see on our screen today. Grab a family home with the Manor Residence, courtesy of the Sir Socrates channel. Of course, Madam Edna will be ready to serve all of you who are interested, and of course answer to all your inquiries. So 8th month, our good cousin Carol began experiencing prenatal labor. She went to one of she did not go back to that particular medical institution that offered her artificial insemination. She went into another hospital where she had made contact, that she had chosen that particular hospital for her delivery. So when she started experiencing prenatal labor, she was able to go there. The nurses listened to her pregnancy history, how she's been losing kids, and of course, to receive first-class attention, she also opened up on her abortions when she was at the university. And of course, the nurses were very professional, and they treated all her information with a lot of privacy and confidentiality. One advice that they gave her is that they were going to save her and to save this baby, they were going to conduct a C-section on her as opposed to the normal birth. They were also going to prematurely deliver her so that in the next couple of months, the baby will be incubated into full life. This was to save the baby, again, from any developing prenatal eventuality. They signed the necessary documents, and finally her desire to become a mother was almost seeing the light of day. We were happy for Carol. We thanked God for the journey this far, and her motherhood prospects had renewed hope. So I remember that particular month, her C-section surgical procedure was scheduled for the 28th of March. She called a few friends, she called a few of her relatives to, accompany her to the hospital. So we prayed with her, and of course we asked God to meet her at our hour of need, to meet her at this particular point where she was going to have a kid after very many attempts. My good people, our cousin Carol was wheeled into the theater room. The nurses came, the formalities began, and she was duly informed that the hospital's 2 lead surgeons were the ones going to take care of that particular C-section surgery. I remember very well, 6:05 p.m., the 2 doctors that were going to perform that particular C-section on Carol walked into the theater. When you go into theater, it's always a formality that any medic, whether it's the doctors, the lead surgeon, or the accompanying nurses who are going to undertake that surgical procedure, they have to introduce themselves to you by name and pedigree in the sense of their qualifications, so that once they've introduced themselves, there's a form you sign to authorize them to proceed. So the 2 surgeons got into the theater, and it's at that particular point of them introducing themselves to our Carol so that they begin the delivery process, that's when Carol looked right into the eye of one of the doctors and realized that it was her ex, Dr. John, who she had broken up with and dumped almost 1 year ago back in Nanyuki town. They looked at each other in the eyes, and very painful memories came back into their minds. And for a whole 1 minute, that surgery room was in complete silence.